Hello everyone. How are you? Fine, thank you. Do you know this clip? Legendary. If you don't, literally just YouTube for it. I know you're not really supposed to say YouTube for something, like you say Google something, but whatever, I think it works. So, title of the stream: Neovide. Let's get to it the way I usually do things. Let's start from like really far away. So, Neovim is a terminal application. It's an application that runs within your terminal so that it doesn't create a new window, basically. It runs within the window that you already have, which is your terminal, and in turn, it is limited by what your terminal can do. Like, for example, you won't have any animations. Here I'm typing, for example. My cursor is very strict and rigid. Does rigid mean what I think it does? Or does that mean the opposite thing? I actually don't remember. Let's move chat there. Boom. I think it means what I'm wanted to mean. It's like very not smooth. It's very precise. Let's search for whatever, honestly. As I scroll, I immediately get gotten to the place that I want to go. No animation, no nothing. If I resize, it's also very stiff, I guess we could say. You might actually be looking for this, because it has its, like, a charm of its own. It's pretty neat. However, if you're dealing with looking at code throughout the day, I found that it actually gets more jarring if everything is just so like immediate and abrupt. So what you can use instead is Neovide. Neovide is effectively the EndeavourOS of Neovims. Let me elaborate. So EndeavourOS is an Arch-based distro, and its goal entirely is to just be easy to install Arch. So, in that sense, it tries to be as close to Arch as possible, while providing a nicer experience. Neovide is pretty similar in that sense, that Neovide doesn't do, I think, anything. It doesn't do anything functionally wise, but it does give you animations. Whoops. Now, if I scroll, it's like pretty smooth. And now, do keep in mind that I stream at 30 FPS because I have a poor laptop and I wouldn't be able to handle more. It usually looks even better than it does now, and the cursor is smooth as well. So if I try to write something, you can notice that the cursor is smooth. Oops, boom. Right? Isn't that super cool? Let's close this Neovim because I don't need it. Yes, this, boom. Right, I also want to talk about this later. Yeah, so you get animations for when you scroll, you get animations for your cursor, and you can even add special effects to your cursor. So maybe it goes like quite a bit of distance down. You could make like particle effects for your cursor. Personally, I think that's entirely too much, but it's really cool that you can. It's like super neat. Hi. So yeah, that's essentially what you get by using Neovide. How do you install it? It's very simple. Just paru Neovide, and boom, you install it. And you just run it after you install it. Just Neovide, boom. And here you go, you can use it. So the difference here is that your usual Neovim runs within the terminal, and Neovide runs as its own window. To show you more specifically, I run Neovim here. This is a Kitty window, a terminal. No new windows get created. It gets run inside. But if I do Neovide, a new window gets created, as you can see. So that's like the big difference. And because it has to create a whole entire new window, you might have also noticed, maybe like not very, but try to pay attention to how long it takes to launch Neovim versus Neovide. Okay, that was somewhat fast. That was noticeably slower, at least for me. It was like noticeably slower. However, my argument against it, rather in support of Neovide, is that oftentimes, at least in my kind of workflow, I have like a main editor where I'm going to be editing most things. And thanks to things like Telescope and the like, I don't have to open one file, close, and then reopen. It's not something that I need to do anymore. I used to have to because I didn't have all the cool plugins like Telescope, but now I don't have to. I can just keep one instance and edit every single possible file in that instance. So, while yeah, it does open a bit slower, it stops mattering very quickly because you just open your main instance and then kind of do everything in there. Right. The other thing about a terminal is that terminals, are actually pretty bad at recognizing different hotkeys. One example that I'm pretty sure is correct me if I'm wrong though, is that a terminal does not differentiate between something like Control-Shift-Y and Control-Y. For a terminal, those two hotkeys are the same, and it's just kind of, I guess, the way terminals work for some odd reason. They operate on key codes, and the shift and the Control-Shift-Y is not recognized, so it just ends up being the same as Control-Y. Do you know some good on-screen keyboard for Linux and Windows? Do you mean like something that appears here and has like keys that you can press? Nope, never needed that functionality, so I actually don't know any programs that do that. Yeah, so that's a restriction of terminals, and when I say terminal, I don't really mean terminal emulator, because something like Kitty, for example, can recognize all sorts of hotkeys. The second one, like keys displayer, oh, the one that I have here, yeah, it's called screen key. It is called screen key. It's really good. You can customize the font, the foreground, the background color, you can move it, you can change how the hotkeys are like, basically what is used as words. Does it work on Windows? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Well, matter of fact, I've been eyeing out screen key for quite some time, and it was actually part of the reason I switched to Linux, because I was like so excited about being able to use screen key. Or maybe it does work on Windows and I just never checked. It's possible. So Kitty, my terminal, it can recognize Control Y and Control Shift Y differently. It like can understand hotkeys as they're supposed to be understood. But that's the terminal emulator. But I guess the shell, not even the shell. I'm not sure what layer of it is, but essentially the programs that you run within your terminal, they don't differentiate between a bunch of hotkeys. So basically having a GUI that like works differently and is not bounded to the terminal, this can indeed see all of those hotkeys, as far as I understood it. I could be just lying to you right now, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I haven't actually tried, and I don't want to bother. Alright, fine, I'll do it. Let's try to make a key map that is like control, control capital Y, and we do function, wow, function print high, wait, no, control shift Y, and we do the same thing, but the capital Y ends up being a lowercase y, and we just say control Y. Let's restart. I press control Y, we get control Y. I press control shift Y, nothing happens. Okay, so it was lying indeed. Okay, the more you know. Alright. Why would you use then Neovide then? Okay, my second point, that is correct. Like, unlike this point, is the fact that you may already have a bunch of hotkeys for your terminal emulator that do a bunch of different things within the terminal emulator, or maybe within your shell and stuff like that. So when you want to start making hotkeys for Neovim, you don't usually want to use modifiers in your hotkeys, but there will be cases where it just makes incredible sense, like making Alt HJKL resize the current pane. So this basically, it makes incredible sense. Instead of using like multiple key combinations for this kind of action. After you discuss your points, can you confirm that is your Neovide lagging? Yeah, but to consider this, like the fact that I'm streaming right now. I'm streaming on a kind of weak laptop, so this is the first time I'm seeing it perform like this. When I'm not streaming, it's absolutely smooth. So yeah, you don't have to worry about it. It's generally super nice. So yeah, by using a separate application that is not using your terminal's hotkeys, you can use any hotkeys that you want inside of Neovide, because they won't and can't conflict with your hotkeys in your terminal emulator. So this kind of separation of concerns is pretty nice. Oh, I'm on M1 and still frame dropping. Do you use it too? Or do you mean like on streaming it is? Because it's lagging for me too, just so you know. Not just... Yeah, like it's lagging for me too, but right now because I'm streaming rather than, oh, it always lags. I wouldn't be using it otherwise. Yeah, so, but here's the massive issue with this supposed advantage, is the fact that you can't use Neovide as a full replacement. So it would be ideal if you could just use Neovide always instead of the terminal Neovim, but that is not viable. It's not something that you can do really. Let me give you an example. How do I do this? I do this, and yeah, this, and boom, boom. I mean, and there's noticeable lag when I enter insert mode and exit and start scrolling. Damn, your computer must be like really bad. I'm sorry. That's wild. No, honestly, like in a usual case when I'm not streaming, it is like perfect. It is incredible. Yeah, like right now I can notice it indeed, but that's not a usual case. So that's quite surprising, honestly. Let's imagine that I want to make a commit. And usually when you do git commit, it automatically opens your editor to edit the commit message. And let's change core editor from Neovim, which it currently is for me, to Neovide. This will make it so when I do git commit, it opens the commit message in Neovide rather than Neovim. Let's try this out. Okay, let's first of all read the output message. Hint, waiting for your editor to close the file. Aborting commit due to empty commit message. Well, hold up now. What happened? It errored out. And the commit did not happen, despite it very much opening in my editor. Oh, what the fuck, right? That's pretty weird. What did you... Like, you were supposed to wait for me to, like, close the file. But it didn't. And that is because Neovide, when you open it... Okay, just so you know, when I press F, that expands to Neovide, so you don't get confused. Neovide doesn't hold the thread. Some apps, when you open them from the terminal, they will then start holding the thread. I think this can actually work. Yeah, see? So I opened this application called KeyRuler, and there's no new prompt in my terminal because it's holding the thread of my terminal until I close the app. So I can press Q on this. I guess I can't. I'll close it like this. Boom, new prompt, because it is no longer holding the thread. But when we open, let's close this window first. When we open Neovide, it does not hold the thread. And that is actually very, very, very important for like terminal-based applications, for them to hold the thread. And I'm not sure why Neovide doesn't hold the thread by default. Because of this, you can't set your commit message editor to Neovide because it doesn't hold. It has to be Neovim in the terminal. And similarly, there are like a lot of places where you might want your editor, but that editor variable cannot be Neovide because it doesn't hold. It like breaks a lot of places. Neovide is nice. Having a dedicated GUI for Neovim is convenient. My only gripe with it is that it doesn't support displaying images yet. Yeah, I super agree. That it's just convenient and nice. But okay, yeah, there is a point that I'm coming to, and we'll eventually come to it. My only gripe with it is that it doesn't support displaying images yet. Huh. I find it hard to imagine situations where I would like be looking at images through Neovim. You know what's funny? Kitty supports that. Let's go to to memes. Let's do iCat femboy. Boom. My terminal can display images. Isn't that super fucking cool? I love it so much. Despite all the horrible things about GUI, that too, about Kitty, my terminal emulator, despite all the other horrible things, that's pretty cool. Because, like, I don't use a graphical file explorer, because I do everything from the terminal, and being able to look at images like this is actually very much part of it. I find it super nice. Neovim through Kitty supports images with image Neovim. You're right. I would imagine like there would be some way. It's just that like where would you come across images, I guess is my question. Does that make sense? So effectively my point is you might want to, because these animations are quite nice and they're just nicer to look at, feel, and interact with, but you won't be able to use them always, unfortunately. Sometimes you will need, like for commits, to use the Neovim without animations, so just Neovim in the terminal. Meaning that the supposed benefit of having separate hotkeys is not that much of a benefit, because you will still need to manage two sets of hotkeys now. Those that don't like fuck with your terminal emulator's hotkeys, and those that are free because they're for Neovide. Now you have to manage two sets of hotkeys, and that is annoying in its own sense. So like, yeah, the more hotkeys situation is nice for Neovide, except it's like it can't be everywhere. So it's more hotkeys to manage rather than freer hotkeys. So that like very much sucks. Yeah, so essentially the only benefit of Neovide is unfortunately just only animations. Yet still, they're like super nice. I like them a lot. I think they're nice. They don't look good on stream or for me right now because it's lagging because I'm streaming. But usually it's such like they're so nice to look at. I use Neorg. Oh, I've heard of that actually. For writing some markdown documents with image.neovim, I can holy shit! I can have the images displayed instead of compiling into PDF and HTML to preview. You get what I mean? Yeah, fuck! That's actually amazing, yeah. That makes sense. Hell yeah. That is super nice. So, final verdict. Is Neovide worth it? Yes, I do think so. Because for most of the time, you aren't going to be restricted by those specific thingies, like, oh, the editor has to hold, or blah blah blah, whatever else it might be. That's not the general case. Usually, you will just be in your main editor. And Neovide is a way for you to have that main editor. Your main window that looks and feels nicer. And it's just kind of nicer to be in. And while it's not going to be the window you always use, I think it's still worth it. So an often thing that people do, which surprised me at first, but then didn't once I started using Neovim, is that people may have their main editor and a side editor that is smaller and faster, but has less features. So people may use something like Visual Studio and then Notepad++. I think that's horrible, but no, that doesn't really matter. That's basically the idea. One big one that has all the features and all that stuff, but is slower, and a faster but less featureful one. So you can kind of transfer this idea to this as well. This is your main editor where most of the things happen, but some things might happen like in line in a way through Neovim in the terminal. So while I would prefer to completely rule out Neovim in the terminal and always use Neovide, it's not viable. It's like not viable, and if it was, it's not worth the effort. But even as it is right now, this is worth using, in my opinion. Because yeah, now most of my experience is like a nicer experience, and I have a better and nicer time working with it. Fun fact. So you can obviously resize your terminal and its font size. Very usual, very normal. And you can also do this in Neovide, but it's a bit strange. It's okay, it's actually very strange. So let's go to Lua. Somewhere in here, yeah. So to change the zoom, essentially, of this, we do Lua, Vim, G, Neovide, scale, please autocomplete. Really? That's crazy. What? No, that's insane though. Fine. And basically you set it to a value from 0.0, I don't think that's legal, but basically that, to 1.0. You just set a variable. And you might think, oh, easy, nice. So essentially what you do is just you make hotkeys, something like control minus and control plus, control equals technically, like it is in my terminal. You know, you can see, and just remake those hotkeys in Neovide that change this variable by minus 0.1, right? Very reasonable idea. However, it works in a very, very silly way. And actually, this time I am willing to go full depth. So let's do control minus. And let's Vim G Neovide scale factor minus 0.1. So this hotkey will be the one that makes it smaller, and this one will make it bigger. Let's re-enter. Boom. And let's try to press these hotkeys. I press the one that makes it smaller. Oops, I forgot to add in enter at the end. That's just a skill issue. Let's re-enter. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. So, okay, I press it. What? Oh, for fuck's sake, where did GI fucking come from? What? And that's why I have to prepare everything off stream. But I could barely be bothered to stream, if I'm being honest, so definitely couldn't be bothered to prepare everything, I'm sorry. So I press the hotkey. You fuck. I'll kill you right now, what the fuck? Huh? What? Wait, what? Huh? Huh? What? Mm-hmm. Interesting. That's weird behavior as it is, like, yeah, for sure. But what I'm currently mad about is because prior to me showing you this is too much. Yeah, maybe, actually, you're correct. Prior, like, when I tried it on my own, what ended up happening is this behavior. I press the hotkey and then nothing happens. Hold up. No, definitely not. Hold up. Nothing happens. And then I need to press some key, like for example J. Right? So I press this, and then I need to press something for the effect to actually happen. And then it happens. So I can't just like spam this like I can now for some odd fucking reason. No clue why I suddenly can. Yeah. I'm so like flabbergasted, honestly, because I couldn't do this before. And yeah, besides kind of strange behavior that it kind of breaks in the middle because it needs more space to display this message, and as we get smaller now, it doesn't know what to do because it waits for an input. Basically, it's kind of annoying. In many ways, it's kind of annoying, which is why I don't do it this way. And instead, let me actually just show you. Boom, boom. It was too small, so I'm gonna re-show you. When I do comma a single quote, this is what gets typed in effectively. That's literally it. And now I just enter my number, like for example 0.9. That's what I usually run with, and boom, we're at 0.9. And then a shortcut to 1, which is where my cursor is. Just press enter, and it's back to full. So that's how I decided to do it. It's kind of ass because it doesn't really have the just keep repeating until you're there type of feel to it, which has its value. But it's kind of ass if I do it this way, which is why I don't. You know? Blammo and even boom. Yeah. Let's talk about this, which I saved here. On VS Code, there's this really cool feature, and I'm not just talking about autosave. The, wait for some amount of milliseconds for inactivity and then save the file, that's like, everyone has heard of that. That's like very basic. Everyone who wants it has it, you know? That's not a surprising feature or something to really be bragging about that much, you know? Kind of, I don't know, I expect it personally to like be able to do that, but VS Code has a different version of that feature, of the feature of autosave, where if you change focus of an editor, of a tab, of a file, of a buffer, then it saves. Let me try to give you an example. Let's go to X remap. Now I have 2 files open, and say I add something in here. You can notice here is this sign that means that this file has modifications and hasn't been saved. Hold up, let me chill out my cats. So look at that symbol very intently. Because as I move to the different file, not only does the file name change, because I'm in a different file, obviously, but that symbol is gone, and we get this. What does this mean? Essentially means that you saved the file that I just left. So now when I leave a file, it gets auto-saved, and you can see that it happened again. It's super fucking nice. It's super nice. So now I don't have to think about saving. What's the difference between this and autosave after a period, you might ask? The difference is that sometimes I don't want things to autosave. There will be times where I'm like, actually don't autosave. I'm still in this file and I still don't want it to be saved yet. Because maybe there's something that watches the file and does something on save, and I don't want to trigger that effect just yet, but I do want that functionality. You know, that's actually a very common situation I am in. But if I move to a different file, then I probably want to save. So that's the distinction, rather than, oh, it just autosaves always, and like I can't prevent it from saving. From doing the buffer change, it's like a nice in the middle. From always having to save yourself versus always auto-saving. I like this like golden middle. And another thing, here we do when I leave the buffer, but what happens if I don't leave the buffer? Like, I was in this file and I still am in this file. Let's add some comment once again. Blech. Fuck, it's a habit. I wasn't supposed to save anything. Blech. Okay, I'm not gonna save. All I'm gonna do is go to a different OS window. And boom, it actually got saved. I don't know if you paid attention to it, but yeah, essentially, I left the window now. Not the buffer, the window. I went to a different window and it still got auto-saved, which is obviously also really nice. Something that you can do is maybe I'm working on Rust and I like finish writing something and then I go and cargo build, for example, right? Cargo mommy build. And yeah, it will auto-save as I go to the terminal to execute this command, which is super fucking cool. It's so cool. It is immensely cool. Boom and blammo. Yeah, and so how did I do this? I create this auto command on buff leave and focus lost, where the callback is write if modified. So if the buffer is modified, we write. What is write? It is pcall vim cmd write. The fuck is pcall? So let me try to give you an example. Let's open a new file. Doesn't have a name. Let's try to write. Write is also known as W. Boom, it gives us an error saying no file name. Now, interactively, that's actually pretty useful. But in my functionality, when I move to a different buffer, I don't want this file to save. Because, like, it can't be saved. It doesn't have a name. And maybe it's just, like, something I don't want to save yet, or maybe ever. So I don't want to see those errors. It's actually very cool. A number of times I said in the compile a bug fix just to rail. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then there are certain things that kind of sort of break. with autosave on period, which is why I prefer this. So I find it very cool as well. So yeah, effectively, usually I would be switching between these buffers, and it would continuously give us errors that I would have to press enter on, because this file doesn't have a name, so it can't be saved. I found that annoying. And what is pcall then? Pcall is essentially execute this function with these arguments and catch all the errors that it may produce. I'm sure that's useful, but the reason why I am using it is entirely as a try block, effectively. What I'm doing here is try vim command write, but Lua doesn't have try, and this is effectively try. I don't care if it succeeds or fails, it does not matter. I don't want to hear anything about it. But if it can be done, it should be done, like it was just able to do. Because I did change something. So pcall is there to essentially mean write if you can. If you can't, I really couldn't care less. Boom. Yeah. And then we only do that if the file is modified to begin with. If it's not even modified, there's no need to save it, because it either doesn't have a name yet, or it's read-only, etc. Whatever else it might be. Like, it doesn't need to be saved. Or written, I guess. And boom. So when I leave a buffer or I lose focus of the Neovim window, it gets written if there are modifications. And this is the exact functionality that was on VS Code, and I now have it again, which is super fucking cool. Blammo. pcall returns a success boolean that you can use, and I normally send a message on failed pcall to help me debug. I see. Yeah, I just discovered pcall from asking ChatGPT, effectively, because I wanted to, like, how do I shut up error messages in Neovim, because I sincerely don't care about them a lot of the times, like here, for example. And it's like, oh, pcall, you can use it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it's like actually useful outside of this use case. So blammo, one win for the Neovim guys and girls and everything in between. Not like we don't have enough wins. I think we have a bit too many wins. We Neovim people brag a bit too much compared to VS Code people. Like, at points we should shut up, not gonna lie. But yeah, this functionality, which I've only heard of on VS Code, very easily done on Neovim, if you know Neovim. that is kind of a lot. So okay, maybe not as easily, but like, if you watch my streams, you now know. Blammo. Another thing that I really liked in VS Code is that you can show whitespace, but like all whitespace except singular spaces, like here and here. If there are multiple spaces, I can now see them, but not singular spaces. Only multiple. I thought that, oh yeah, I'm not gonna have that feature in Neovim, that's way too specific. And like, alright, fine, I'm gonna live without it. It's not a big deal, but would be cool. Yeah, it turns out it's just straight up a built-in feature of I think even Vim, not necessarily just Neovim, which is like, oh wow, that's really fucking cool. What the fuck? And you change list chars. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like a Vim feature too. So set list chars, and let's immediately go to list chars. This thingy. So list chars has a bunch of stuff that you can set symbols for to like show certain characters as other certain characters. Like you could display new lines with the new line character, for example, or with this one, you could have every new line to be an Amogus character. And something that you can do is that, where was it? Yeah, I think it's multi-space. So one or more characters to show for multiple consecutive spaces. And specifically spaces, by the way. So that means that if there's only one space rather than consecutive spaces, nothing is displayed, because this is used instead. And when omitted, spaces are left blank. So if you just specify multi-space, that means that only multiple in a row spaces will be displayed with your symbol, which is so fucking cool. And then you can say, you can say, oh, tabs are displayed like that. And then end of line, boom, also. And other stuff. So yeah, look at, whoops. Look at each list chars to get this page. And let's go back to options. So you set these, that's what I set mine to, tab to this character, multi-space, to middle dot. And then you set Vim opt list to true to actually see them. And that's pretty helpful to distinguish between tabs and spaces. Incredibly, yeah, especially considering that depending on the language and file, I might be I might see spaces or tabs, like it changes. It's not always a single variant. I actually showed DOS this already when I opened X3map. That uses spaces, and my Lua config uses tabs, so like that's already different. And noticing possible incorrectness in indentation immediately is very useful in keeping my kind of code base a bit more consistent, rather than me not seeing it and never noticing it, you know? The cool thing about Neovim is that you can toggle everything and make hotkeys for it. You can make hotkeys to set list exclamation mark. You can make a hotkey to literally execute this command, and this will toggle, well, you seeing these characters. So if maybe usually you find them annoying, you can just toggle them like this. But honestly, when I don't have them, this feels weird to me. Like, it feels really off. Oh, it's per file. Oh yeah, it is per file, huh? Per buffer, I should say. Yeah, so you could make it so it is false by default and then gets enabled when you want to. But I find it that this is like, this makes more sense for me. Blammo. I know, spoilers. Okay. Oh, I distinctly remember wanting to talk about something else. And at this point, I don't remember. Make sure I didn't miss it here. No. Fuck, what did I want to talk about? Okay, let's go and look at my commits. In case maybe I did it recently and I'm... Fuck yeah, okay, fuck yeah. That was a good idea. I can now zoom in better. I can now zoom in so much better. I can literally, like, boom, boom. Isn't that fucking amazing? And also, look at this clock very carefully. See how it goes forward, right? Zawardo! When I'm in this, oh wow, I didn't expect this behavior, but it's actually very cool. Yeah, when I'm in this zooming mode, that also stops time, which is extra convenient, actually. It's like super nice. I have been using Xzoom for this kind of functionality, for zooming functionality, and Xzoom is really ass. Unfortunately, it's the best thing that I've found, and I've tried like, I think 5, maybe even more, different zooming programs, and Xzoom came out on top. It was the fastest and the most reasonable to use, with the most minimal interface. And yet, for it to work, my compositor and Gromit MPX had to like auto close when I opened Xzoom and then reopened again, because otherwise it didn't work because of some bullshit. So yeah, that sucks. But now I don't have to use Xzoom anymore, and fuck Xzoom, because I'm using this program now. You might be asking, what is this program? How do I install it? Not how you usually install things. Usually you just paru name of the program, right? But this is actually a program made by a streamer that I really like. Soding Boomer. And that's actually way more hilarious than you realize, because this is a zoomer program, and the program is called Boomer. Isn't that hilarious? He's one of my favorite, hold up. He's my #1 favorite programming streamer, and overall one of my favorite streamers. So, is that cool? As far as I know, the best zoomer program on the market for Linux, and isn't part of a desktop environment. I mean, like the best thing of that is made by YouTuber and streamer, mostly streamer. I find that super fucking cool. Like, damn. Like, it actually zooms correctly and well, and I love it. So how do you install it? First of all, let me just give you the link. You install nim, borrow nim, right? Yeah. You install the nim programming language. How exactly you do that depends on your distro and setup. And I think this is Linux only. Yeah. So yeah, how you install nim, I have no clue. On Arch, as always, is just it's effectively as simple as install thing. Literally install thing. That's it. On other distros like Debian, you might have to be a bit more annoyed. Then once you installed nim, you git clone. Let's go to prog. Oh, right, this is a fork that I did and they don't reply. Actually, yeah, boom. So you git clone, but instead of this, we do this. Oh, whoops. You git clone this, and you end up having this in a directory, blammo, and you say nimble build. I guess, yeah, I can do that. Boom, it built. Or at least it did for me, so I assume it's going to be built for you as well. Then you have this green thingy file that is just called boomer, nothing else. You copy boomer to something like .local bin. In one of my videos, actually one of my most watched videos, I claimed that this is in the path by default. This is either distro specific or just not true whatsoever. But effectively move this binary to some directory that is on your path. I personally make my own. Let's go to binaries, which is just in my own directory, and I put this directory into my path and contains all the various binaries that I use. Is there something that I should clean up here? Yeah, Autosave. I don't use Autosave anymore. Oh yeah, temperature. Huh, forgot about that. Yeah, boom. So let's actually add boomer. Add boomer. This is private, by the way, so I'm not gonna share. It's like I'm literally just storing a bunch of binaries because it's more convenient than having to install, like, either compile every project or else or install every project, where instead I could just clone this repository of mine. Oops. And have all the binaries that I want to use from usually my programs, but Boomer's the first program that I compiled from source, because that's what you effectively have to do here. It was very simple and easy, and boom, it just works. Then make a hotkey for it in something like X3map. I made it to be meta V, and since it's a X3map hotkey, you can't see. And blammo, now you can use the scrolling wheel to zoom. You can press F to get this flashlight effect, and control scroll changes the radius. Press F again to remove it. And actually, what else? Let's go and look. Actually, is explained here. Oh yeah, an unfortunate mapping, which makes sense but isn't very nice, because how the fuck are you going to reach 0? But that's how you reset, I guess. And I'm not sure, like, we're currently not in a window, I'm pretty sure, so we can just use X3map to remap some better hotkey to act as 0. So that's like, kind of sucks, but alright then. And press Q or escape to quit. Yeah, blammo. very, very nice. And I've been zooming in way more than I used to with Xzoom. Even with Xzoom, however ass it was still very useful to be able to zoom in. But now the program is actually like really fucking good. Like I love it. I can just zoom in as a thing to do. I'm so excited about it. Like, wow. I'm thinking now that I might be the first person outside, like aside from Coding, to talk about this program. Maybe that's not the case, but like, I don't know. It might be. I don't know. I find that super fucking cool. Boom and blammo. Something that I'm trying to make a tradition, but I keep forgetting. My most recent absolute banger fucking track, Nightmare, as usual, just released some, like, you know, there's some music that goes hard. This doesn't just go hard, it goes difficult. It's so good. Like, it is incredible. Like, holy shit, how? Some people just make music be absolutely majestic. I don't get how they do that. It's so cool. Yeah, and I think I'm done for today. I hope you learned something about Neovide and thought about, is it worth using? Boom, I hope I helped you with that.